I'd say welcome to another episode of ChipHeads.
Hello.
Ooh, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And we've got a very special guest. Introduce yourself.
My name's Josh Davis. I make Gameboy music under the name Bitshifter, and I'm excited to be involved in this episode of ChipHeads.
Kind of ludicrous to have yourself, to have you describe who you are, because I think everybody knows who you are.
I'm quite sure that's not true, but I appreciate the sentiment, though.
That's a big name.
Well, your track is an example for what you can do with LSDJ on the site, right?
Less every day, given how high the bar keeps getting with people making LSDJ chip music nowadays. Every time I hear some new, young talent come up, I'm always knocked out, or almost always knocked out by the level of their skill, and I'm a little bit, I feel like maybe it's time for me to, hang up the Game Boys, retire, and let the youngsters take over.
A little bit intimidated.
A little bit, yeah. Maybe even more than a little bit.
Well, maybe you shouldn't be.
No.
Okay, well, you're touring Europe right now?
I am, yeah.
Four-show tour?
Yeah, I'm doing 2 weeks in Europe. Just played Antwerp last weekend. That was a blast, as you both know. And you both helped make it a blast with your respective participation. I'm heading to Sheffield, England tomorrow. Playing there tomorrow night as part of Steel City Chiptune. I imagine by the time this goes online, that will have been in the past. So thanks for coming. It was awesome. Monday night, I'm playing in Cambridge, England, with Jellica and Radio Waves Goodbye and New Edition Claire Kwong on visuals.
Cool.
And then, the grand finale is Chip Hits the Fan in Nuremberg, Germany. So I'm excited about that. That's on November 2nd.
We'll be going as well.
Yeah. We'll be there as well.
So
awesome.
Gotta be a good one.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
I'm sure Steel City What is it? Steel City Chiptune is gonna be a great one as well. And you were at Hyperwave. Oh, that was USK.
I was not at Hyperwave. No,
that's
I was jealously watching people talking about Hyperwave on the internet.
That's right. He was at Hyperwave.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Just as a visitor, no.
Yeah. But that was good as well, as far as I heard.
It was fun. It was amazing.
Yeah, that was an incredible lineup.
Very sweaty.
Yeah,
very sweaty. That's what I've heard.
But yeah, it's great to have another Hyperwave again.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while for that as well.
Yeah. Well, I've seen Mikey post things on Facebook in the vein of, well, this was so good, we should do this very often, very soon again. So let's hope he continues doing these, because
hopefully, yeah.
I couldn't make it, but definitely would love to come next year. I wrote down a lot of stuff put on a lot of stuff on my phone, because a lot's been happening since the last time that we did an episode. For example, the very fact that Anna Maniguchi just released their new album.
Just today,
right?
Just today.
Sounds great.
You've already listened. I've already listened to it. I saw you post on Facebook that you listened to it.
Yeah, I gave it while we were sort of slowly getting ready just for our day today. I just had it playing on my tiny phone speakers, but it sounded great on those, so it's probably going to sound really great on proper speakers.
If it sounds good on iPhone speakers, phone speakers. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for those guys, because they've been working on this for a long time, and I think they're pretty excited to finally have it out in the world. And yeah, I thought it sounded great. I'm always in awe of what those guys are able to do, and it's fun to cheer them on.
Yeah. It was good.
It's funny though, because they're coming to Holland.
They are.
I just saw that.
Yeah.
It's going to be an Eindbaas show, right?
Or an Eindbaas organized show.
Okay, yeah.
And they're going to play. They're going to be twice in the Netherlands, actually.
Are they?
In Amsterdam, Melkweg, and in Utrecht.
Holy shit!
The Helling.
That's great.
Yeah, and there was some confusion about the dates, because on their website it said 18th Amsterdam, the other Utrecht, and then at the venues themselves it was the other way around. So if you're watching, go fix that. But yeah, I really like their album, and to be frank, I'm relatively new to the chip scene. I haven't really heard that much of Anna Maniguchi's old material, but I know it's a big name. Like, everybody's always talking about Anna Maniguchi.
I've seen them the last time.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, they're great.
So
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the live show.
Mm-hmm.
But are they doing shows in the US as well? Because that's where
they
they're
are.
from, right?
They're doing, I think, the shows in stages, and I don't remember off the top of my head what the sequence is, but they're doing a lot of touring in North America also.
Yeah. So if that's what you like, I'd say go check the website and see where they perform.
Yeah.
What else is happening in the US? There's going to be an I.O. 10-year anniversary show. There's lots of shows, man. It's been
the
last half past year of 2019's been, because we've had 4 shows that you're doing. Then there's another Eindbaas coming. Then Marie did another show in Paris. I think the last one at the Kawaii Cafe. We've just had Chipwrecked. Like, oh man, so much. And we're just continuing on.
Yep.
Square Sides Melbourne is...
They're coming back.
From hiatus.
Yeah.
So lots of shows. But yeah, I.O. was doing a 10 years anniversary. Who was coming? Lovely Fish was performing.
Cyanide Dancing. Fuck Jazz for a minute. I'm forgetting at least one or two people now.
Probably.
But we don't have a
go
lineup
look
in
it
front
up.
of us.
Yeah,
we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
If we don't forget about doing that.
We.
We
guy.
No, we. Yeah, so that's happened. The guys from the Game Wave podcast, shout out to them. They put up a new...
They put up...
They put up a new episode of their podcast as well.
Okay.
And it's been a long while since I think they did the last one.
Mm.
That's Joe from Pterodactyl Squad and James York from ChipHeads.
And Square Sounds Tokyo.
And Square Sounds Tokyo.
And
I believe they talked about Anamaguchi's new album as well.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
that's new news.
Check their podcast out.
Yeah, do so. Yeah, we're just going through the news, and then, I mean, if there's anything that you'd like to talk about or Ed, just go ahead.
I think you guys have it covered so far.
How did you start it with chiptune, Josh?
Is this an ironic question or is it a real question?
Well, if you want to answer it, go
I'll
ahead.
answer it, sure. It was by accident. It was like 2000, 2001, and I was at the time really interested in Gameboy camera photography. And I had noticed that some online galleries, galleries, just people's personal galleries of their Gameboy camera photography, it seemed that they looked like directly transferred digital image files as opposed to they weren't scans with the printed images. So that got me thinking, well, how are they doing this? There must be some kind of way to get data off of a Game Boy camera into a computer so you can losslessly, post it online or whatever, and have 3 people look at it and appreciate it. And this led me to some discussion on I forget even where, on some internet group or email group about transfer hardware, but they were talking about it in the context of music software. So I was like, okay, screw the Game Boy camera. I want to know more about this.
Yeah.
And I dug deeper. Weirdly enough, I came across Nanoloop first, and I say weirdly enough because I don't think a lot of people are using the transfer gear for that program so much. I think that program doesn't really play all that nicely with a lot of the transfer hardware. At least it didn't at the time. Mm-hmm. And LCJ was the one that people were most frequently using it with. But so for whatever reason, Nanoloop was the first one I stumbled upon, ordered that on a cartridge, was blown away just by the whole concept of it, the sound samples that the developer Oliver had put on the site. In a way, I think were really influential because the sound samples stylistically, they didn't sound anything like game music. They sounded like kind of IDM, or like minimal techno. And so right away, it totally reframed the use of the tool for me, where it's like, you don't have to, this doesn't have to be a gaming related thing. You can just make minimal techno. Anyway, so you get the idea. Yeah. So Nanoloop and then Little Sound DJ shortly after that. And yeah, I was off and running, and it's been a hobby for like almost 20 years now. So that's kind of crazy. So yeah.
Time flies. Yeah, that happens a lot when I try to explain chiptune to people that are like not in the chiptune community. The first thing they think is like, oh, so it's kind of sounds like Super Mario soundtrack.
Exactly.
They're like, no, but how am I going to explain this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So usually I say something along the lines of we're trying to make like modern music using arcade, but like you got to hear it to know what it sounds like.
Yeah, that description or that sort of that struggle to explain, to sort of convey that to people is it's every time there's a lot of work you have to do.
Just come to the show.
Yeah, come to the show. That should be our stock answer.
So you've got a photography background?
No, not at all. No. It was just it was purely I liked the aesthetic of these super low res pixelated black and white and shades of gray photos that you could make with it. To me, it seemed really like an interesting echo of punk rock aesthetics, show flyers that get photocopied 1,000 times, where there's a certain degradation, a certain character that those designs would take on. It's where the medium is kind of intruding on the actual design. And I thought, helping to define the design. And I thought the same thing was kind of true in an interesting way with the Game Boy Music camera. But yeah, sadly I didn't pursue any of that because music got in the way. Nanoloop and LSDJ, I got seduced to the dark side.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad too. Actually, it's been a blast.
And have you tried any other, like, outside of Game Boy, any other consoles or trackers or?
I haven't really. I played around just, but not in really any serious, not in a serious way, with ChipHeads, which is the music sequencer that's in the Game Boy camera software.
Oh yeah, that's so
Um,
weird.
Yeah, I've played with that.
It's neat.
It's neat, yeah.
I really wasn't able to figure out anything that I could do with it that people hadn't already done, so it didn't really stick with me, but I thought it's neat that existed at all, especially in an official Nintendo product. Other consoles, I bought a MIDI NES with the intent to explore it, and it's still sitting in a closet, and Chris Can, the developer, I'm sorry, I will use it someday, I promise.
We were talking about that before the show started. Like, I think every musician understands like how life gets in the way.
Yeah.
Of doing these kinds of things. Yeah.
It's unfortunate. And the only one I can think of is, for a while I had a copy of Synthcart, which was Paul Slocum's music software for the Atari 2600. It was really cool. I sold it at a time when I needed some money, and that I wasn't using it so much. I really do regret selling it away now. I really wish I still had it, but maybe I can find one secondhand at some point. But
if anybody has one,
I'm accepting donations.
I'm sure you are. Let's see.
I was wondering something, because you've recently released a new album.
I have.
Which was quite the buzz on the internet.
I don't really know what the big deal was, but it's kind of you to say.
But it's been a while since your last release, right?
Yeah. So this one I've released, it was probably about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. My previous release before that was in 2006. I'm not proud of that gap, but, like Stein said, life gets in the way sometimes. Funnily enough, a lot of the material on this new album was stuff that I was working on, in like 2007, 2008, 2000, that time period, with the intention of getting it out, around then, but other things just kept getting in the way. Also, I was really dividing my time a lot between, just my day job, and then we were running the Blip Festival Limit series, and so there really weren't enough hours in the day, I think, at the time to really focus on the album. So even though some of the stuff for me is kind of older, I still really felt a compulsion. I really just wanted to package it up, solidify it, finalize it, and get it out into the world. And I'm actually really glad that I did. So people might rightly say that it sounds a little bit dated, but I don't disagree. But it's the sort of the statement I wanted to make, and I'm happy that we finally made it.
So great. Does it feel different to perform songs that you wrote 10 years ago instead of performing? Because the shows that you did 10 years ago were shows with tracks that you composed a couple of months before.
Yeah.
So is that different? Is it weird to listen to your tracks that you wrote?
Is boring different? Because it definitely gets old a little bit. I will say though that for a couple of reasons, I think I found ways to sort of keep it interesting for myself and hopefully also for audiences. For example, some of the older material, I did go through them before recording them for the record to kind of soup them up, or to apply better techniques that I've learned in the time since, sometimes rebuilding them, from the ground up where needed. So there's some stuff that's new about them, even though the fundamental structure of some of these songs for some of them does date back a few years. So yeah, I don't know, I'm always sort of trying to come at the material with, a fresh set of ears, and to see if, if live mode presents any interesting ways to maybe we can do something different with this song. We can, at this particular point in the song, we can, switch to live mode and mix up the pattern sequences or whatever else. So things like that. But at the same time, the material that I have released, even though it's old, this may sound strange, I still do believe in it. So I still do enjoy playing it live, and I just hope the audience enjoys it as much as I do.
I did.
Me too, man.
Yeah, and I'm sure. The room went crazy during your set in Antwerp.
Yeah.
Bitgrid, so.
Yeah, that was a good time. I never really look up much when I'm playing, so I'm going to trust you and take your word for that.
I know what that feels like.
Yeah.
I had someone came up to me and told me, what are those things on his Gameboy?
Oh yeah.
You don't use backlights, do you?
No, I don't. I tried it once, had a bad experience with it, so I kind of was like, you know what, I don't need these, and so I'm still relying on the Game Light, which is manufactured by a third-party Nintendo accessories manufacturer called Newbie, and they're getting harder to find. They break pretty easily. They get pretty fragile. But all the same, for me, it's actually it's actually more versatile because I'd be a lot more worried about, let's say, dropping and damaging a Game Boy that I've spent a lot of money to customize, and or if I'm ever in a situation where maybe one of mine isn't working and I need to borrow someone else's. I know that if I have this peripheral, this light, I can snap onto it. That I'm good, whether it's backlit or not.
They're incandescent, aren't they?
And I've got one of them where the bulb is burnt out, and I'm wondering if bulbs like this even exist anymore, and I wouldn't know how to get in there to change it, so it's a whole thing. But it comes with its own, there are certain conveniences, but it comes with its own set of trade-offs.
Yeah, I modded one of mine because I have others, but they're basically same lights. I modded them to LED, so it's possible.
Let's talk rates. I might have to hire your services.
Sure. I'll gladly help you.
That would be awesome.
Well, you think that's hardcore, but I believe USK performed without any lights at all. It's like just
angling his Game Boy every year. It's like,
I'm gonna start that chain. It's like dancing. Let's start that chain.
That's pretty classic USK. Yeah.
Like old school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Let's see if there's anything else on the list that we wanted to talk about, because I believe there was. I wanted to ask you, are there any, I don't think I should rephrase it as what's your favorite album, but are there any chiptune albums that you would like to highlight or pinpoint? Perhaps obscure stuff that people don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm trying to think both of like stuff that has for me have been like personal classics for a long time, and also some of the stuff that's coming out nowadays that has really knocked me out. There's an artist who has just done a new release on ChipHeads called Scythe is his name. Japanese musician, really intricate, great stuff. I forget the name of the new record. I just got a copy of it. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet. I have his previous one, which is called Nighty Night Stories, I think. Just really impeccably performed. The sound design is impeccably done, and the songwriting is great too. That's just one off the top of my head of recent artists. Some of my favorites, some of the ones that for me have been kind of like longtime classics. Even though earlier on I was talking about how chip music doesn't necessarily have to be confined by the concepts of video gaming or that kind of thing. I'm going to sound a little bit like a hypocrite when I say one of my favorite chiptune records is a record that very much deliberately borrows from like the VGM aesthetic. It's a Swedish musician goes by the name Rugar, and it's an EP called My Girl the Princess. It was released on 8-Bit Peoples in 2003 or 4 maybe. Just incredibly written NES music with, as I understand it, all done in MML. I don't know if you're familiar with MML. It's music markup language. It's basically a text-based way to write music for the NES. Which then needs to be compiled, and you can compile it into a playable NSF file. It seems to me to be just impossibly, I can't imagine writing music in this way, like in a text file, but Rugar did an incredible job of it.
I'm sure a lot of people say that about LSDJ as well. So.
That's probably true. But this record it's just one of my favorites, and because not only it's video game style music, but it also, there is such a deep, it's clear that the artist is drawing from a really deep and broad history of just deep music knowledge, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's really quite sophisticated. So I really enjoy it. That one has never gotten old for me. Another one that comes to mind sort of randomly is Omodaka. You're familiar with Omodaka, Japanese musician who does...
I know him from another, he does things under different artist names as well.
Yeah, his real name is Soichi Terada.
Yeah, he did a lot of house tracks back in the...
Yep.
Back in the old days when I probably wasn't even born yet. But
Omodaka is his sort of like chip music project, and it's I don't really know how to describe it and how to do it justice. It's chiptune oriented pop music that's blended with what I understand to be a traditional form of Japanese music called enka, and he collaborates with a vocalist whose name I don't recall at the moment, but it sounds like nothing else, and I can't get enough of that either. Recently released a new record, I believe. Or maybe he's posted that he's got one coming out soon. I forget which, but anyway, I've been a little bit out of the loop.
Didn't he play Square Sands last year, Omodaka? I think you did. Like not the recent one, but the year before that.
I can't remember, but it could be.
It was one of the artists on Sunday, or the year before that. Anyway,
don't remember.
Yeah, good artist. Well, I've got some new music to listen to. I like this. We're gonna ask this question from every. Like, if you're ever a guest on the show, from now on, we're gonna ask this question.
Yeah, compile a list.
There's also these two. There's two other new discoveries for me. Somewhat new. There are these Dutch musicians, Wisefire and Antler. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but really impressive live shows with some interesting, highly technical props and some excellent, songwriting musicianship as well. So
thanks.
Thank you.
You guys should check these guys out.
Yeah. Well, we've got the Bit Shifter stamp of approval now. So you listened to, because you mentioned the guy girl that released on, like, I don't know what their artist name was, but on 8-Bit People.
Oh yeah, Rugar, a Swedish musician. Yeah.
Being influenced by the video game music history. So do you listen to a lot of video game music?
I don't.
Besides Chip, or?
I don't really. I feel like I should. I think for me, I've kind of had. I'm trying to think how to phrase this. Early on, when I was first involved with chip music and making chip music, since I did encounter a lot of the same sort of understandable misconceptions that people might have, of like, well, so what? It's video game music. It sounds like video game music. What is it? For me, for a long time, I was trying to make a point to, with varying degrees of success, trying to make a point to frame what I was doing, and hopefully to frame the nature of chip music in general to people who asked, as something that was distinct from video game culture. Yeah. It didn't have to be, Tetris remixes and Mario T-shirts. I have probably held on to that separation a little more than I need to, especially now. I feel like at this point, I mean, frankly, even as of like 9 or 10 years ago, that point has probably already been pretty solidly made, by the community. I don't think there was really, I think there was enough distinction that had been established that people were no longer really necessarily confusing chip music for being game music or being like derived from game culture. I am getting to the question, I promise. I know it's very circuitous, but so where I'm going with this is in that time though, I've kind of shied away from really listening to a lot of video game music. I haven't really been a participant in video game culture. But I feel like it's probably time for me to, I feel like that point's been made that I was trying to make or help make years ago, and I should probably just, stop being such a tight ass and listen to some video game music.
There's lots of good video game music, but I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Yeah, well, I'll hit you up for some recommendations. Anything you would recommend?
And Frank Martin, he asked for us, and yes. I speak to him I think daily or every 2 days, and we just share obscure random video games.
That's great.
So, yeah.
I'll have to pick your...
Ask him and me, yeah, sure.
Yeah, pick your brain about that, because I'd like to get a little bit more... Yeah, I'd like to get more experience under my belt with that stuff.
And another question, which is also fun for us to answer. Maxime Rouleau from Pampadu recently posted this on Facebook. He said, What do your family or friends think about the weird kind of music that you're making? And I thought it was kind of a fun question. Most of my friends actually think it's kind of cool. Some of them went with me to some shows. The first Bitrate that I went to, we went with a gang of I believe it was 5 or 6 people and drove there. So that was kind of cool. And my parents, while I don't see them at shows very often because it's loud and fancy, but they think it's cool. But I can imagine there's people in the chip scene that don't really have that. My friends think it's weird. So how's that for you?
I mean, I've been lucky. I mean, maybe it's a function of where I was when I first discovered this stuff in New York City, where there's a lot of patience for weird and off, strange art and music, and I felt into a small community of people who were doing this stuff anyway. So it was great. So most of my best friends nowadays are people that I made through my experience with chip music. So we had this sort of built-in network, and those friends that I've had who I didn't meet through them, through that scene rather, they tend to be pretty supportive. My family, I don't know that they necessarily get it entirely. I don't think that they would go voluntarily to a whole lot of shows, but I think that they see that there's something special to this, as a community and as a global phenomenon, and I think that they respect it for that reason.
Yeah. That's cool.
Gets you traveling to Europe. So.
Yeah, I mean, I never would have. Honestly, I can't believe. I can't believe that I'm, this lucky to get to do this kind of thing, and it's all thanks to chip music. So yeah.
Was it Jonas who contacted you first?
I'm sorry.
Was it Jonas who contacted you first? Playing here.
Oh, about BitGrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I believe he told me that he'd been trying to get you and USK to play here for a long, long while. Well, the BitGrid before the one that you played, he told me, I'm talking to someone from the US and someone from Japan, and I really hope they can make it, but he didn't really think that both of them would be here. And I think this was his dream edition of BitGrid.
Well, I can say it was an honor for me to be part of that lineup. It was so much fun, and Jonas is a great guy, and I was really excited to have a chance to come over here and to perform.
And his sister's a really good cook. She made food for all the artists. It was really good.
I didn't get a chance to sample it.
You didn't?
I'll have to come back.
Yeah, it was really good.
We did have Jonas's food, right? Were you there for that? Yeah, you were.
For that night I was there. Yeah, and that was great too.
That was
the day after.
Yeah.
Right.
Good. What is your family and friends?
My parents quite supported. They don't entirely get it. My mother. I mean, nobody gets it except when you're in the scene, right? But my mother loves my music. So, I mean, I'm her kid, so obviously, and they're selling my CD.
That's amazing.
They have a small stack of them, and they sell them to friends and. Yeah.
That's great.
Nice.
So that friends, like you said, I'm making friends in the scene now.
Yeah.
And so they get it.
Yeah.
And friends outside of the scene, they've been to a couple and they understand it, but most of the people, they say, I like it, but it's not my kind of thing.
Yeah. For once, I'd like to go show once.
Yeah.
Experience
like that. Yeah. But it's fine. Like I don't mind. Like the community online is great. The community offline is amazing.
People are really just almost everyone I've ever met has been really welcoming and just incredibly friendly. So yeah.
I fully agree.
Yeah.
Except for these two. Terrible people.
Let's not have drinks afterwards. Is there anything else that where can people find you online?
Thanks for asking. So I have a website at bit.shifter.net. It was coded in 2009, and it looks like it. Really haven't. I update the content, but be prepared for a non-mobile friendly, really kind of at this point old school looking website.
Proper chiptune aesthetic.
Yeah. And there's links on that to everywhere else you can find me online. So Twitter and SoundCloud and Bandcamp.
You're on iTunes, Spotify.
I am, yeah. All the major music distributors, you should be able to find my music and streaming services, with the exception of Amazon. I recently pulled my stuff down from Amazon because I figured, what's his name, Jeff Bezos? He doesn't need whatever infinitesimal fraction of a cent he's getting from every 6 months when one of my tracks sells. I figure he's rich enough. I don't need to contribute to that. So if you're an Amazon enthusiast, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go elsewhere for my music.
Buy on Bandcamp, right?
Yeah, Bandcamp is my favorite of all the platforms. Yeah. Just as a musician and as a fan, I just think it's a great service.
Yeah. I agree. Let's wrap up. Or is there anything else? Oh, there's one thing that I wanted to mention. Kenobit's doing an online chiptune festival on Twitch.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what it entails, but it looked really cool. The posters were really good as well. I think the basic idea is that once every week or 2 weeks, he invites an artist to do an online set on Twitch. And I think Weeklund already did one, but there's a lot of big names on there, so
that's great.
Even if you're in a remote area where it's hard to go to chip shows, this is perfect. So
as long as you've got an internet connection.
Yeah. I wanted to mention that as well.
Party.
I say let's wrap up. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for doing an interview.
It's my pleasure. Thank you guys. This has been a blast, and see you guys next time.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Let's
good luck with the tour.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
We'll see each other. We'll see each other again in Chip as a fan. But.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. That'll be great.
All right. Well, thank you, and be back in a bit.
We'll be back in a bit.